Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We'll start in a few minutes. So if you're joining us for the first time, or this is your fourth or third webinar you're joining with us, hopefully you guys know the routine by now. It'd be great to know who's with us today. So in the little Q&A box, if you just leave your name, the company you're calling from, we'll do a bit of a shout out. We'll say hello. But like I said, we'll start properly in a few more minutes to make sure everyone who's registered for today's webinar joins us. Right, so we have good morning, Russell from Note Machine. We've got Barry from Autism Initiatives, and we've got Sally Ann. Hi, Sally, again. I think it's like your third webinar with us of late from JM Heaford. We'll make a start. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, making the most of your Office 365 experience and usage. Like I said at the start, for some of you, this will be your third webinar, fourth webinar over the last couple of weeks, exploring the digital transformation, the modern workplace, and how we need to continue that in 2021. For some of you, though, this will be your first webinar with us. So good morning and welcome. I just want to do a quick introduction into myself and our guest speaker. So my name is Felix. I'm the one of the marketing managers here at BCN Group. I've got my job title in for a second. I'm one of the marketing managers here at BCN Group, and I will be your host for today. I'm joined by Mark Knight, who is our cloud communications and modern workplace specialist. Both of us got over 10 years experience working in this industry, helping businesses digitally transform and adapt new technologies. So who are BCN Group and what's our mission? So our goal in life is to make good organizations great by helping them operate smarter, faster, and more efficiently through technology. It's about working smarter, not harder. And we're a big believer in technology can enable businesses to do that, work in a more of an astute way and in more of a technology enhanced way. So a little bit about BCN Group. We're a complete managed IT solutions provider. We're a big believer that IT is holistic. We're a big believer that every part of technology links to one another, works together. So, for instance, if you've got a cloud communication or a modern workplace environment like with Microsoft, it's about utilizing all the applications that go with that, and that's one of the reasons today's webinar. But it's also about where it sits. It's about how secure your data is, so everything links together. We're independently owned and we're a financially sound organization. We have some really high accreditations, and we'll go a little bit more detail about them shortly. But we're trusted by 1,000 clients, across the entire length and breadth of the UK, and we support over 30,000 individual users. We're located across 5 sites in the north of England. They are in Manchester, Leeds, Warrington, Runcorn and Chorley. We have 2 data centres. We don't consider ourselves as a northern business. We are a business that can help partners of any size across any location across the entire length and breadth of the UK. We are Microsoft Direct CSP partner and 6 gold competencies. Again, I'll talk about competencies shortly. We have world-class excellence, technical support. We're about 200 strong when it comes to the size of our organisation. 65 to 70% of our workforce is formed takes part in some form of a technical based role. But our actual team, the biggest team in our business is our support team, our technical team. That makes about 40% of our business, and they're on hand to offer you guidance, technical support as you when you need it, but also where and how you can make improvements. And our net promoter score is 89%, which is about 20% above the industry average. And our customer retention rate is 98%. Once customers are with us, they see the benefit that we bring for organisations. We also don't talk about the 2%. As I mentioned earlier on in these opening slides, was as an organisation, we believe technology is intrinsically linked with each other. We don't just do one thing. You know, there are many MSPs, IT providers out there that just specialise in collaboration, that just specialise in infrastructure. We as an organisation, we are specialists in everything. We're not we don't consider ourselves a jack of all trades and master of none. We consider ourselves a master of everything, because we believe technology works together. So whether it's a platform about where you host stuff, how you then protect that data, using that data documentation, how can you better work together and increase your productivity, how you can develop applications and SharePoint sites that are bespoke to your business, and also just giving you that help and support that you might need, that bit of guidance for IT consultancy. And everything that we do is supported by our managed IT services. As I mentioned, we've got a number of accreditations. We're a Microsoft Gold partner. We've got about 6 accreditations with them, covering from application development to platform to collaboration, all the very key focused ones, especially for this webinar, but the way the world's going. We're also a direct CSP, which means we have direct access and direct communication with Microsoft. And we buy everything that we do, whether it's Microsoft 365 licenses, whether it's setting up Azure infrastructure platforms. We do everything through Microsoft, which gives us that unique element when it comes to that help, that support, and that guidance that we can give back to our customers and to our fellow partners. We're ISO 27001 accredited, 9001 Cyber Essentials and Cloud Commercial Provider. From a technical point of view, like I said, we offer a wide range of different services. Therefore, we want to work with the best. We're Microsoft, which I've gone into a bit of detail with. We're a RingCentral partner, which is cloud telephony. We're a preferred partner now as well, which means we're part of a very small, unique group where they actually, when the opportunities come in or when businesses they know look at RingCentral, they pass them directly over to us. Security wise, we work with the biggest names: Fortinet, WatchGuard, Sonicor, Sophos, ESET, Viper, Yealink and Poly when it comes to headsets and communication devices. Infrastructure with Dell, HP, and connectivity when it comes to M24/7, Zen, and WaveNet. I honestly, I could talk to the cows come home with about these accreditations, but you can see the type of services that we offer across the board, and the partners we work with as a result. Like I said, we work with customers across the entire north of England, across the entire UK, not just the north of England. But what we also specialists, we don't just pigeonhole ourselves into a certain type of business, into a certain type of industry, and a certain size of business. The technology and the services that we can offer can benefit any business, no matter location, size, age, turnover, number of employees. But we offer, we don't just offer that holistic. If a business just wants to take one aspect, then we can provide that to them as well. That's why we are unique, because we offer everything. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these customers about what we do, but I just want to touch on a couple. If I look at London Stansted Airport and the Manchester Airport Group, we work with them through a SharePoint development. Staffordshire Police, a SharePoint development as well. Look at Country Baskets and Fairway, smaller business, but we offer a cloud infrastructure. Gardeners, we work with them again. They're a huge publishing company. And Marley, we offer both an on-site hybrid, but also a cloud infrastructure as well. And then Metrorod in the middle, which is a huge UK-wide franchise organization. We offer a fully managed service with that. And what that means is they take they touch on every single part of our service stack, our technology stack, in order to deliver them the IT solutions they need. As we all know, though, technology is a constant evolving and changing landscape, and especially we've seen that over the last 12 months as we've all had to adapt and change the way that we work, both as organizations but as individuals as well. And so therefore our approach to delivering the services, the technology that you guys need, that businesses in the UK need, match that as well. Our first step is to discover and propose. We work with you. We don't have a set agenda in terms of the technology we push onto you. It's about what you need and how your business operates. Every business is unique. Every business has their different ways of operating, providing the end user of their business what they need. So therefore, our discover and propose phase is unique to that business. We transform and adapt. We then start to roll out that identified technology. We help end users absorb and take benefit from your investment. We manage and revolve. As we said, IT is a constant changing thing. So we help you manage it. We help you change it. And so therefore we look at new technologies and we will advise, say this piece of technology is coming to the marketplace that's now available. We think you would benefit from us. We want to be that trusted advisor with you. And that process constantly goes around continually, regardless of the technology we provide. So as I said along, look, you won't hear much from me. It's mainly going to be our guest speaker, Mark. We want to make sure that you make the most out today, and that you get as much information out of this webinar as much as possible. So there is a Q&A section. We'll touch upon questions and answers towards the end, but please have them coming through all the way through. It's a fully interactive session. So without much further ado, I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Mark Knight.
Thank you very much, Dan. Right, so yeah, today's theme of the day, making the most of your Office 365 experience and its usage. So the way that I thought about this one is to look at the various Office 365 apps. There are a few videos, if you've been on our earlier webinars these last few weeks, you may have seen before, but it's all going to be about how Office 365 has made your digital experience ever more collaborative for you, more intuitive, better for you to use. So I've got a Microsoft pitch deck, which I'm going to go through some of the advancements they're bringing through and have brought through in the last few weeks. And then what we're going to do is break out and go into an actual Teams tenant. It's a demo tenant that we've got, and Dan's going to work with me on this, and we're going to go through elements of Microsoft's environment, looking at how we can collaborate, how we can work together as organizations and work with other organizations at the same time. So got a few slides. Hopefully the sound's going to work. If you've been on my earlier ones, you'll know that sound can be a bit fun sometimes where it doesn't always come through, but hopefully we've got this one cracked. So new digital age, Microsoft empower every individual and every organization on the planet to achieve more. How they do that is help their customers to digitally transform, and that's part of what BCN do as well. We work with Microsoft to deliver transformation for you. Even before COVID-19 and all the disasters and everything else that was happening in the world, customers were investing in digital transformation to optimize operations, transform products, and engage customers and empower their employees. Middle of the pandemic, tremendous pressure. Let's send everyone home. Here's Office 365. Get on with it. That's generally what happened. We're still there. Not huge amounts changed. We're still working from home, working dispersed, but we still need to deliver change. We still need to make sure that people understand what they're doing and understand what technology stacks they've got available to them. Yeah, there might be something in the Microsoft ecosystem that you think is irrelevant, you're never going to use it, and then your colleague might find it the best thing ever because it saves them hours and hours of work. So it's thinking like that. Technology can amplify human ingenuity. Very simple. People are the driving force behind this progress. So all the applications, all the investment, all the innovations that are brought into many tech stacks, not just Microsoft, it's about the people. The people are the driving force behind it. So it needs to be easy for them to use. You're transformed by the pandemic as well. All organizations will be permanently transformed. So we've got to make sure that anything we put in place is suitable for a home office environment, working from a back bedroom, working from the dining table, going back to the office. It needs to be the same data available to you regardless of where you're at, and it needs to be the same experience. It needs to be seamless to us all. The online offline distinction isn't going, it has gone. There isn't an offline online distinction anymore. I started my day at about 6:20 this morning, mainly because I had a few things to do first thing early this morning. But because I can work from home, I've got all the applications available to me from anywhere. I can do so. I still have my off time. I was playing with Steam engines last night as my off time, so I'd still make that distinction for myself. But I've got the application stacks there to help me work when I want to work, not when the business needs me to. So this is a quick video from Microsoft to understand.
Since the world shifted to remote work, research shows there are some bright spots. People cite flexibility and greater empathy for team members. 62% of people surveyed said they feel more empathetic toward colleagues now that we can all see into each other's lives at home. On the other hand, there are concerning trends. We're eroding the social capital built over decades over water coolers and in hallways, leading to loss of connection and feelings of isolation. People are working longer hours, leaving them feeling depleted, with the biggest increases in Teams usage outside the typical 9-to-5 workday and on weekends. Workday length increased 17% in Japan, 25% in the US, and 45% in Australia. 1/3 of remote workers say the lack of separation between work and life is negatively impacting their well-being. And more than 30% of information workers and first-line workers say the pandemic has somewhat or significantly increased their sense of burnout. But 70% of people also indicate that meditation could help decrease work-related stress. It's clear that people want to do great work. The big question: how can technology help?
I do quite like that video. I show that at most of my presentations. I think it's a very powerful video. I think it shows you what what we are as human beings. We are pushing what we can do in terms of our work-life balance. Particularly during the pandemic with reduced staffing levels, we've all taken on extra responsibilities to do that. And of course, the reality is, like everything, when you take it on, it's very hard to then get rid of that extra responsibility. So it's then about balancing it, and how can technology help you to balance? Me personally, I've got a few applications that I use, not just Microsoft's. I find that the sleep timer or sleep mode on iPhones is absolutely fantastic. My iPad rings to me at about 9:30 every night to say it's time to go to bed and go read a book. I think that's fantastic because that's just a non-invasive prompt to say to do something. Microsoft are exactly the same way. So they invented the future of work, reimagining teamwork and culture and social capital, prioritize digital individual well-being. So we've got focus applications that help us understand what our day has been, what we've been good at in terms of productivity, what's been terrible today, and then what can we do better tomorrow without, prodding at you. Learn and reinvent. We've got loads of applications at our fingertips to use. Unlock knowledge, insights, and expertise. Again, you've got applications that are self-service. You don't need an IT team to implement it, nor do you need a massive wealth of experience to understand it. It's just having that give it a go attitude. You'll find with Microsoft Office 365, once the boundaries have been put in place by IT teams, it's very hard to break the application. And even if you do, it's very easy to undo that in where it hasn't. You can automate your processes and workflows to do that as well. and include everyone in that digital transformation to become a trusted, secure, and modern experience workplace. So Microsoft's tech stack, you've got Microsoft Teams, which is the core emphasis of what everyone uses these days. And I could be here all day harping on what Teams can and can't do. But it's also about the other applications as well. So you've got the Outlook, the Office apps, you've got Edge browser or Chrome working together in unison. But then underpinning that, you've got things like the Microsoft Graph, which will help understand what your working day is all like and what applications you do use, what you're not using, and what it thinks you could use as well. The Graph understands all the threats, it understands all the emails, it's understanding your entire lifestyle and then giving you real-time, real expectations around what you can do as an organization. So reimagining teamwork skills, reimagine teamwork culture and social capital digitally. Well, Microsoft Teams is that first application to use. If for those of you who have not used Teams or not moved to Teams yet, meetings, visual meetings, it's so much nicer to see a person than to just talk aimlessly to a PC screen. But then you can also chat, one-on-one chat, one-to-many chats as well, adding a couple of GIFs and emojis, making your day a lot nicer to work with. But then you can also share, collaborate on shared projects, on single documents, collaborate in real time as well together. So you're not doing everything by yourself, especially in this world where we're all working from home. And then you can call people. You can actually speak to people internally very easily, listen to your voicemails really easily from within Teams. It's a fantastic tool for collaboration. But on top of that, you can focus on what's important with dynamic views. So whilst in meetings, you'll get a pop-up to see who's speaking at that time. So it goes purple around their picture or their icon to know who's talking at that time. You can highlight hand raises so you can see who's trying to ask a question without interrupting the meeting. And then, of course, it's optimized for sharing. So once we're sharing content, we've got everyone on the left-hand side. Or if we want to pin a person who's speaking at that time, we can pin them to that content. So you can see them talking as well as the content they're sharing, bringing it more back to it's a reality, but it's a virtual one. And of course, you can see many more faces. A lot of organizations have more than what a 3x3 video screen can show. So now we can go up to 49 users with a large gallery. But then we can also use things like the virtual meeting spaces. So what you can do is go to together mode, and this will then put everyone in an auditorium view. There are different backgrounds coming this quarter, so make it look a lot nicer than this, but it gives you a sort of shared presence of everyone there. When you're talking, you can see other people you're talking to, just as you would inside an office. It's as good as we're going to get in terms of not being able to be together in meeting rooms. But then, of course, if you're like me, I have children, and since 6 o'clock this morning, they have been screaming the house down. So there are things that we can do to help this. So reduce noise background in the background noise in meetings or in one-to-one conversations. So within there, you can go to our settings. And where you've got noise suppression, you can change that. So I'm on default at the moment.
I'm still working from my apartment, and while it can be challenging at times sharing a space with my roommate, I love the fact that I save an hour each day for my commute to the office.
Yeah, a lot of my colleagues are starting to work back in the office. I think they just find it a quieter environment. And hey, there's really good parking right now.
So I got an email from the GM last week about the new work from home policy for next year. I think when things get back to normal, I'll probably still work from home at least twice a week.
So you can see it's technology, but it's helping you to do your everyday jobs. If you're like me, I tend to shut myself into a room, particularly if I'm on something like this, a webinar. I will hide myself from the furthest point away from anyone else inside the home, just so it's quiet. Not only for meetings, but it's for me to concentrate as well. But then, of course, you can also see what people are saying using live captions. So if you can't have the speakers on full volume,
when I turn on live captions,
what we can have is some live captions.
I can actually see who is speaking.
This is especially helpful when someone is presenting and you can't see the person talking.
So you can see we've got live captions, and if you can do this on this webinar now, if you went down to the bottom right hand side of the screen, you've got a little CC box. You can click on that, and that will enable live captions, and then it will start tracking what I'm speaking and start putting that to you in a text format. Particularly helpful if you need to, turn down your speakers or mute what I'm saying, but still track what's going on rather than just seeing a bunch of slides and no audio. But then you can also have live transcription in those meetings as well, so you can understand what's going on. And then we can have breakout rooms. One of the most fantastic things to come out of Microsoft Teams in a long while is breakout rooms. What this does is effectively breaks you down into smaller activities. So if you have one meeting with 12 people in, we can now break this down into a meeting with 4 people in each room. And we can do this dynamically or automatically or manually. Manually is obviously an easier way of doing it, so you can choose your rooms. So I want to create 4 rooms. I want to name them each respectively. I want to assign 4 people to that room. We do it just like that. And once assigned, you'd start the rooms. Then those rooms are open. Now what will happen is those users will automatically be pushed into those rooms. From an attendee perspective, they just see the people that are in that room and can communicate and collaborate with people. Here they're using Whiteboard, but from a moderator perspective, we can still manage everyone in that meeting or meetings at this point. Note, it's still one main Teams meeting, so it's not then individual Teams meetings in its own right. So then we can all come back together, so we can stop at any point or drop into a room, and then we can stop that room at any point, come back, and then have a collaborative approach at the end. This is all about Teams. Teams is not the only application out there. PowerPoint. There's some really quite nice features that they've put into PowerPoint these days. So they're now using AI to determine the content of your presentation and apply styles that best fit your subject. So for example, here we've opened up Designer. We're doing a financial report. So it's automatically used AI to figure out what's going on. We can change the view of the agenda as well, make it look better. And then we can do rehearsals as well. So it's an AI powered experience. I've personally used this myself. It still tells me I speak way too quickly and that I'm not clear enough, but that's just me. But it also helps to rehearse timings to make sure each individual slide is timed correctly. You'll go through the entire presentation by yourself, and then it'll give you a rehearsal report at the end. So it'll tell you if you're on pace, if you're doing the right timings, if you're clear in what you're saying. And then of course you can present it. But over and above that now, we can present real time to individual people using individual slides. So for example, you wanted to skip past an element that I don't need to talk about. You could then skip past those bits. So you've got a personalized experience to that. We can also change the language. So if you're doing a multilingual environment, it would be easier to translate what you're saying in English rather than saying it twice in different languages, or translating the entire PowerPoint and then adding notes. Microsoft Word, very much the same again, using AI to understand the context you're writing and predict what you're planning to write. So here we're going to start typing away, and it's starting to use intelligent word prediction. So it's understanding what you've been writing and the style of writing you've been using to understand what's going on. We can upload and transcribe audio recordings. So for example, if we recorded this entire webinar and the whole lot was pushed into a web video or into an audio stream, we could then take all the transcribes out. You could see all the elements where I'm speaking, which would be most of the presentation, and the elements that Dan's been speaking. And then we could push that into Word. And now we've got a complete transcript of that entire web meeting. Think about its use applications would be Teams minuting meetings or recording details of what people have said rather than having to do shorthand, learning shorthand or anything around that. But then we've also got intelligent writing assistants. So here it's understanding what you're writing, but you can change the type of writing style. So from formal, professional, informal, different words used for the same thing. If you're like me, I'm dyslexic, so I struggle with word content and understanding along with formatting. It's one of those things I've never been very good at. So my formatting is generally all over the place. So is my spelling and punctuation. So I use Microsoft Word and all the power of Word to help me in my everyday life. Excel, again, it's the same sort of thing. We're using we're using AI, we're using Power Flows and Power Apps to understand data better in our application stacks. So here we've just got some individual market opportunities, and we're going to link those up to the stocks. So now we've got individual stock analysis on each company in that list, live real-time data, and we can chop and change this as we feel necessary and add bits in. But then if you're sharing that, or you want an idea on how to use it, so for example, here I want to create a pivot table. Ordinarily, I tend to spend 20 minutes trying to figure out how to do that. Just type in it, ask the system what you want to do, and it automatically creates that pivot chart and give you that drill down. And then you can chop and change that data as it's needed. But then if you want to work with collaboratively with other people, and you want to change your data views, so changing your lists, add and remove filters, you want to make sure that you're just doing your changes. You're not changing the view for everyone. It's a personal view specific to you. And you can see at the bottom there, it shows that you are viewing your own personal view. You've not altered the structure of the document. You're just working collaboratively with other people. We can put comments and notes in there. Note that I've done an @ request. So I've done @Alex to here, and I'll assign that. That's now created a task for Alex to complete. So that will then flow through to his to-do list or his list. So then he will then have to do that as a task. It'll automatically send him an email as well to say, this is what you're supposed to be doing right now. And then Outlook. So there's been some really good AI integration and MS Graph integration directly into Outlook. So for example, here, we're going to start with, play my emails.
Right now, you've got 3 emails to hear about.
Listen to emails from my manager.
About 45 minutes ago, your manager Miriam sent a quick email about budget planning just to you.
Schedule a meeting.
Looks like you're both free at 12:30 p.m. tomorrow. Should I book this?
Yes.
I've scheduled this and sent the invite.
When is my next meeting with Megan? Send an email to Megan. Can we do coffee after our Wednesday meeting?
Now you'll note there that specifically, it's a bit like a Siri environment. It's using what we call Cortana, but there we're using first names and we're doing a search on first name terms. Now what Microsoft have done in the background are using the Graph API and AI together to understand, well, Megan is that person that you've been speaking to just recently, and that's that person you have a meeting with. Therefore, we're going to link those two, situations together and give you that result because you are speaking about that person. But if there was 5 Megans in the organization, you had meetings with all of them on the same day, Cortana would come back and say, well, specifically, which Megan are you on about? But you can also drive it much further than that. You can then say, well, what meetings have I got with Megan this entire month? And then it will pull you back a list of all the meetings you've got with Megan this month. On top of that, you can then create notes or you can do a to-do list. You only have to tell it. In this very presentation, I've started using what we call dictation within PowerPoint and Word and everything else, which is effectively, I just tell the system what I want to write and say. It does get some of the punctuation a little wrong on times, mainly because of my dialect and the way I speak, but it saves me 3 or 4 hours worth of typing. It makes things a lot easier. And it's no different with Edge. Hopefully the PowerPoint wanted to do as it was supposed to do. There we go. So with Microsoft Edge itself, you can see here I'm on the home page of my browser. I haven't gone to portal.office.com to get any of my data. It's all natively on the home page there. So I've got all my recent documents, anything shared with me. I can get to all the 365 applications, but I can search our Office network and the web at the same time. So I've just done a search for Diego and I can find him in my internal directory. I've done effectively a Google search. It's not checked the outside world, it's checked our internal network first. But then you can also have existing legacy views as well for that legacy application stack. You can create collections in here. You can organize your web content and share that around. You can also write notes in there so you understand exactly what you've been talking about, or put references to why you've saved those particular sites. It's also worth mentioning that Edge these days is built on Chromium, which is the same back-end engine that is run on Chrome. Biggest difference is that Edge is nowhere near as hungry in terms of performance on your machine that Chrome currently is, meaning that you can run more Edge browsers open, more tabs open, without necessarily taking more bandwidth on your device or more resource. So again, they've made it intelligent, but also resource capable. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break out of the presentation. I'm going to jump into our Office 365 application. This is just a demo tenant that I've got open. So this is Consoso Electronics. It's a familiar site to many people who've got 365. So I've got all my applications on the left-hand side. I've got all my recent documents here. I can check on my specific recent, anything I've shared, and anything I've got as a favorite. And again, if I wanted to open something up, so for example, I wanted to open up so this is just opened up directly into SharePoint, and I've got the importance of branding and containers. So I've got a note there, and I can leave another comment. So when you're ever doing something, you can use an @, and it'll do a search of the directory based on that. I can post that. Now you can see that that's an active link. It's automatically linked in Payroll Services. What will happen now is they'll get a notification on their O365 environment to say that you've been mentioned in a comment. So it means then I don't have to then go and do an extra task by going to Teams and telling this person, by the way, I've just mentioned you in this. Can you just find out what's going on? I can navigate around, and this is all using SharePoint. I can go back to my apps at any time. I can open up and look at all the apps that I've got. So these are all the applications that are available to me at the moment. There are some apps that you may not have seen or used before. So for example here, Lists. So Microsoft Lists is a fantastic application where it tracks and works and visualizes data together. It's both used as an individual tool and as a collaborative tool. So I can create a list. You've got templates available to you, but you can also create blank lists or from Excel directly, or an existing list if you've done one before. So I want to create an issue tracker. Gives me some basics, and I want to use the template. Give it a date or a name. Add some descriptions in there if you want to. Choose a color, an icon. You can save it to your list or a particular SharePoint site. And of course, as we've discussed in previous webinars, that SharePoint lists and SharePoint sites are automatically synchronized with Microsoft Teams because Teams is built on SharePoint. So again, if you wanted to put this into Teams at a later point, so I can put it in the landing and I can create that. I've now created an issue tracker. So I can create a new issue in here, and I've got some fields to fill in. So I might notify Alex. You can put an issue sort, images, logged by if it wasn't logged by you, and hit save. So I need to do it past the date. sorry, it was issue reported. So 02/04/21. I have to do an American date because this is a demo tenant. Save in there. It creates an issue. Note it's been tagged with a particular person, so they'll now get a notification to say that they've been tagged in this, and they can start collaborating too. We could export the whole lot to Excel just to do some Gantt charting or pivot table, whichever you prefer. We can add apps to this, so you can use Power Apps on the Power Platform. We can also create Automate. So this is using Power Automate. Again, really easy. I want to set a reminder for the date reported, or I want to create a rule. Notify someone when items deleted, and I want to send an email to the assigned to person. So there you go. I've just created a power flow or an automation. Really simple to do. So that just notifies a person every time a line is deleted in this list. So this now helps with accidental deletions, or if someone's altering the list that you don't want them to do. But on top of that, I could create a flow. So Microsoft Flow is specifically designed if you want to have an approval behind this issue, or once someone logs an issue as a help desk team, for example, you want it to send an email to the help desk team. You don't want to give everyone that email address because that's not the point of this. They log it in one place, you get notified in another. Really simple. We can choose exactly what's going on here. So start an approval when an item's added, send a customized email. So I want that one. So I'd automatically open that up. It'll create a flow. So going from SharePoint to Office 365, it'll ask the exact permissions and create the flow. This is what we call a boxed flow because it's been created by Microsoft for us, making life a lot easier. So it'll just go away and create that flow for us. And there's our flow. So we've got all the permissions, it's owned by a person, and now I've got a run flow. So every time someone adds something in here, it will then send an email to me. I could change that at any time and put in some details around that flow. So I could edit that specific flow itself. So when it's itered, go to my profile, send an email. The email is going to the given name, and you can see this, the body of the email itself, and it's using some variables to fill in the data. You can also get help at any point and build these yourselves. There's no coding, there's no guru magic being in the background here, and you don't need any masterful training behind this. They're very simplistic, logical flow apps. There are many templates to choose from in here, and they can do many different things. Just have a look and feel. So for example, you can get a push notification when a file's added to OneDrive. So you'll get a notification on your phone to say someone's added something in my shared folder, for example. But then of course you've got Whiteboard. So within Microsoft Whiteboard, we can create whiteboards. You can create more than one whiteboard at any time. We can put information in. If you've got a tablet, like I've got a tablet, or I'm on my desktop at the moment, I can start drawing out what I'm trying to do, give a visualization of what I'm on about. I can then share that. There's my share link. I could just copy that and paste that to anyone I need to, and then they've got a link to my whiteboard. They can't see anything else, just that whiteboard data. I could open this up in an application stack itself, or export it as just an image file. Nope. As soon as I click backward, it's automatically saved. There's no save as button because there isn't a need for it. Within Microsoft Forms, again, same sort of thing. I've got all the form information I need here. So I can create a brand new form, give it a name, add in my questions or my choices. And put in the relevant information. You can then share that out using a link. You can share it as a template, or you can share to collaborate with other people. So you've started this, but you want someone else to finish off that form. We can change its theme. just to make it a little bit more fun to use, then you can preview that. That's an instant form, viewable on both mobile and on PC. As you can see, really simple to use, really easy to manage. Data is then pushed into an Excel, stored in SharePoint, which you can then collaborate or work on. There's also many other applications in here, and I could be here all day going through them. But there's Microsoft Bookings is a fantastic system. We've also got Power BI. Again, we do as BCN Group, we have a bunch of Power BI experts who can build and maintain Power BI dashboards for you and platforms. You can visualize rich text data in there and go through information in real time. Project, so you can use this for your project-based teams. Again, within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, so you get all the benefits of that. You've also got the analytics. So as I spoke to about earlier, around understanding what your workday is like. So here's my analytical dashboard. So I can see my focus, I can understand my productivity insights, my collaboration, and my well-being. I can see which days are quiet. And then of course, Teams. So in my Microsoft Teams environment, and again, this is completely in a web browser, I have all my teams. I could go to the design team. I can see people who've messaged in different languages as well. I can pick up some documents. I could open that up real time and start working on this document within the web browser. I've got the dictation. I've also got the editor. I've also got Designer. I could do catch up. So if I've started this document, someone else has worked on it, I want to understand what changes have been made to that document by someone else. I can use catch up to understand what they've been changed. It'll just give you a breakdown of all the changes made, just in case you need to overwrite something or you were about to do something that someone else has already done. You can, of course, add different tabs to each channel. So I can add wiki pages, SharePoint sites. I could add that list I created earlier. So I'd select an existing list. So I've added a list. Again, that was saved in SharePoint, but driven directly into Microsoft Teams now. So Teams becomes that core focus for everyone. And then the calling side itself. So as I mentioned earlier, Microsoft Teams is your one-stop shop for everything, including calling. So if you have the right license plan, you can make use of the calling side as an external. So I've got this set up for external calling on an 0800 number. I can see all my files, both in Teams and in OneDrive. I can also add more cloud storage from different locations if I want to. And of course, I now have rights management on some of these. So this is purchasing data, and I've got a contain sensitive information. That means when I try to do a copy link and copy that link, that sensitive data tag will also be copied. So if I send that data outside of the organization, it means that I will not be able, that person who I sent it to will not be able to receive that data. And again, you've got the policy tip there. And you can check all your recent files in your OneDrive. But all this is possible when using the right level of license. So here are some of the licenses that you may well see and use. So Business Basic, Business Standard, and Business Premium, all available as the SMB sections. As you can see, each one of them from that red section there has core application stacks to help you create a holistic environment. So you've got pure collaboration, Microsoft Teams to do whiteboard, and your Power Apps are included in every version of Microsoft Business Plan and the enterprise plans as well. So you can use these applications regardless of license level you've got. If you're only just looking into the Microsoft world, on next week's webinar, we're going to go real into depth into each one of these license stacks and how to make best use of the licenses, so you can understand exactly how it all works for you. You can build integrated security solutions. You can apply security controls, expedite your response to fast-moving threat actions using some of the devices in there. Move all your organization to the cloud, mitigate shadow risks of IT, balance information protection with productivity. We've talked about this in earlier webinar series, where we need to make sure that we're balancing the good with the bad at the same time, and make sure that we don't put too many anchors in place that people can't use it. How can BCN help? Well, we can support you on your digital transformation journey. We can design and implement solutions that work for you. We're not a box shifting organization. We will open that box, we'll develop it, and then give it to you as a finished product. We'll make full use of your Office 365 licensing. So I've just given you a flavor of some of the licenses that you can have. There are over 1,000 different license types within the Microsoft ecosystem. Not that Microsoft have made it difficult, they've just given people the ultimate level of choice. And we can also help you on your cloud communications journey as well. So we can make sure that you understand what we can do in your organization. We can give you the most collaborative apps possible. We can do it all on a 30-minute discussion, or start that journey on a 30-minute discussion. Again, scan the QR code, and that uses Microsoft Bookings to create a Teams event for myself or one of my colleagues. It shows our availability calendar real time to allow you to book in. I hope it's been a fairly good presentation thus far. I'll open the floor for Q&A. By all means, feel free to ask questions.
Lovely, thanks, Mark. And as Mark said, yeah, the floor's now open for you guys to ask any questions if you have any. We've had one come through, which I'll go into in a second. But just to kind of reiterate some of the points that Mark has made, it's Microsoft 365 or 365, however you want to describe it. It's an incredibly powerful platform, and it's been designed really to provide that holistic approach to the modern workplace and how we all adapt and the applications that we use. Hopefully you've taken away from today's workshop or webinar that there are tools available to you as part of your license that you may be spending on a third-party application elsewhere. For instance, you've got forms where you can build surveys, and if you've been on any of our other webinars recently, the feedback form I sent you is built within Forms. But you might be, spending additional costs on things like SurveyMonkey. So, and there's Power Apps and Flows, which then links all these things together. We use Flows internally. If a sales guy wants to put a new supplier, a new customer on the system, they fill out a form within Teams that's built within Forms. It's hosted within Teams. The process then sends a notification built with Flow to the member of our finance team who's responsible for putting the information in. So you can see it all connects together. It builds that holistic approach. So like I said, we've got some questions coming through. If you've got any questions, please feel free to put them in the box. It'd be great to put your name in as well, so we can accredit those questions. So the first question comes from Sally Ann. Can you explain more about Graph that you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah. So the Graph API, as it's officially known, is effectively a collaborative, a brainchild between AI, so artificial intelligence services, and everything you do. So it's not a nanny state. Some people have said to me, it's not a nanny state. It's not that Microsoft are watching everything you do. They just take the analytical data of everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and then look at what can you do better. Understanding threats, it's not around you as an individual person, it's around the entire organization. So it'll understand threats. It helps if you've got things like ATP, so advanced threat management, or Intune, understanding if you've got a device that's severely out of date. like I say, it pushes a phenomenal amount of data through its API stack. If you want to do some more research, Google Project Cortex was the project behind it. But really, Graph underpins everything that Microsoft is these days.
Lovely, thanks, Mark. Next question, it's from Russell. When document sharing within Teams, is there a limit to the amount of people you can share with?
It will probably far exceed your contact list. Last time I checked, the limit was 9,000. However, the limit of real-time collaboration, I think, was limited to about 30. It was only limited to that because so many changes at the same time that you ever increase the risk of overlapping data types and creating versioning. So they did limit the amount of real time. But in terms of sharing the document, well, the sky's the limit.
Lovely, thank you. And that's all the questions we've had for now. We've had some positive feedback from Stuart, so I'm glad today's webinar has blown your mind, to take your words. And
I always think it's me rambling on for an hour.
And that actually some of the features and we see this a lot. Is actually a lot of people never know, like I said earlier on, the features that come with it and the applications that are involved with Microsoft 365. It's always a very pleasant surprise for many users. So that's it kind of for today. I want to touch on a couple of last bits before we end today's webinar. As Mark said, we have another webinar taking place. It's going to be on Tuesday coming. We have got some more planned towards the end of February into March, and we'll be launching them soon. But this webinar coming up, it's more of a deeper dive. It's aimed at IT managers, IT administrators, but it's more of a deep dive into how you can utilize your management of your Microsoft 365 environment. Are you using the right licenses? Mark said he'll touch upon licenses. I don't think he'll go to all 1,000 SKUs available, but he'll touch upon sort of the high level, a lot of the licenses that are available, how you could build the platform that works for your business, you potentially using a lot of the security features that come along as well. We have some guides that are available for you guys to download and utilize. The first is how to plan your IT modernization 2021, as we touched upon this and a lot of other webinars recently, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you planned it or not, whether it was on your radar to do it. 2020 forced a lot of businesses to start that transformation, but we want you to continue it. We encourage your business to continue that modernization. And actually, how can you go and do that? So that's what that guide is about. The second guide is a bit of an end user guide into the functionality within Teams, of 365, and how better to use it. But like I said, hopefully today you've taken a lot away from this webinar. I hope it's been of use. We at BCA Group, we can help explore a lot more of the applications with you, build your environment, utilize linking applications together with Flow, with our own SharePoint development team. So we are readily available to help you as and when you need it. But it leads me to say thank you very much for joining us, and we'll hopefully see you again very soon on our next webinar.
Thank you very much, everyone.